Hey guys, this is Jan from Move to Prague, one of the co-owners, co-founders of Move to Prague Relocation Experts, and your weekly miracle here. Today's topic will be about a topic. Today's topic will be about a topic. That's very, very clever of me. But it will be about something we get many questions about, either from people moving from here or from people living here or just generally. And that is the difference between S.R.O, like limited liability company, and trade license, meaning the freelancing. What's better for you? What is people ask us, okay, should I get a trade license or should I establish an S.R.O? What will be better for my visa? What will be better for me if I want to freelance? And we get plenty of questions like that. So I decided to do a live stream about this topic and go through all the differences and all the pros and cons. So just to give you a brief idea what we'll be covering today, it will be differences in establishing the S.R.O or trade license, running the trade license or the S.R.O, money involved into that, especially taxes, liability, ownership, because there are some significant differences in that. Thank you very much, guys, for the likes. Then operations and closing. The trade license versus closing the S.R.O company, and then some kind of conclusion, what is better, because it's not possible to say trade license is for sure better, S.R.O is worse, or the otherwise or other way around. But there are some pros and cons, and for some situations the trade license might be better. In some situations the S.R.O might be better. So let's go through it right now. So establishing S.R.O and establishing trade license, what is the difference? Basically, this is kind of, maybe I will rate it, okay? Because I have always the general topic and main points, but then the rest of the live stream usually happens when it happens. So let's do a rating, okay? So I'll rate each of the parts. 1 point for the one who is better, like a trade license or the S.R.O company. So establishing, that's a definitely point for trade license, because getting a trade license is a very simple process generally, especially if you hire a company like us, for example, to do it on your behalf. It's very simple. It's done within 3 to 5 business days, sometimes even shorter. It's not a problem, and it's relatively inexpensive. If you do it yourself and you're just getting the trade license, and it's 1,000 crowns and that's it. So starting or setting up the trade license is definitely way easier and way cheaper than establishing the limited liability company, the S.R.O. So here the point definitely goes to trade license. If we're talking about S.R.O, there are a couple things that influence the final price of that. But the main thing is that you need to pay some fees to the government, which is, I believe, 6,000 crowns for establishing the S.R.O itself. Then you pay the notary, which is percentage of your establishing capital. So if your establishing capital is, I don't know, 10,000 crowns, the fee will be some. If your capital is 200,000 or 3 million or whatever, then the fee for the notary will be higher. Plus, there are some other costs associated to that. So trade license generally is 5 times more expensive to set up than the trade license. Even if you do it yourself, even more. I'm talking mainly about using our services. Then if you go for the service of trade license or S.R.O, then the S.R.O is 5-6 times more expensive. If you do it yourself, that will be even a higher difference. Probably the total number will not be that high, obviously, because you will not be paying services of anyone, but the total cost will be maybe 10 times, 20 times higher for the S.R.O than for the trade license. So point 1, definitely for trade license. And topic number 2, running trade license or S.R.O. Well, it depends obviously on your business. But because generally speaking, trade license is meant more for freelancers. You can also run big businesses under trade license, like many restaurants are run under trade license. I'm not saying that those are big businesses, but you can have employees, you can rent an office as a trade license holder, as a freelancer. You can grow pretty big under trade license as well. You can be VAT payer, all that is the same. So if you have employees and if you're VAT payer, then the paperwork or accounting or the daily operation or monthly operation will be the same as for the trade license and the S.R.O. So there might not be that much of a difference. But generally, for the trade license, the paperwork and taxes, tax return is way simpler than for the S.R.O. company, because there is also higher probability that you will be checked by government authorities when you run an S.R.O. company. I've been through both. I started with a trade license as a freelancer, or we started like that with Daria years ago when we were starting Move to Prague. And then we established an S.R.O., then we established another S.R.O. So we have experience with both those things. And generally, for a trade license, we've never been checked by anyone. Maybe sometimes the tax office asks about something if something is not clear, but it's not like an audit or something like that. With S.R.O. company, we are checked a couple times a year. They always come to check our social security or healthcare or taxes or stuff like accountancy, stuff like that. So it's definitely more likely to get checked by government authorities if you have S.R.O. And in that case, you need to be prepared for that and you need to have everything in order. If you don't have everything in order under the trade license, chances are that you will never be checked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're not prepared under the S.R.O. company, then it could end up in some serious like consequences or like, I don't know, checks or fines and stuff like that from the government. So if you have a company, you need to make sure that from day one, everything will be perfect. So you need to hire an accountant. You need to make sure that everything will be all right. If you're starting with a trade license, then you can take it kind of easy because the chance that someone will check you is not really that high. So probably point one for trade license again. Then money, topic of money and the trade license and the social security. What I mean by money is how you can use the money you earn. Because obviously, if you have a trade license, if you're a freelancer, all the money you earn is your money. So obviously, you need to tax it, you need to pay the social security, you need to pay the healthcare as a freelancer, but all the money you receive, you can spend. If you earn money as a company, as the limited liability company, as an S.R.O. company, the money you earn is not your money. It's the company's money, it's corporate money. So if you want to use, you cannot use it just to pay your house rent or your flat rent, or you cannot go buy groceries using company's money. If you want to use the money you earned through an S.R.O. company, you need to somehow get it out of the company. And that in most cases works the way that you pay yourself a salary. So besides paying the corporate tax as the company earning money, you will also be paying taxes as your own employee. So you'll technically be double taxed and you will end up paying way more taxes than if you're a freelancer. So from this perspective, like money-wise and getting the money out of the company, definitely being a self-employed is way easier because all the money you earn is yours. In case of the limited liability company, all the money you earn is the company's. And if you want to take it out, you need to pay yourself a salary and be taxed for that. So double taxed. Okay, so then the next thing is liability. That was actually one of the most important things for many people because as the name says, limited liability company, there was a limited liability. So basically, what was the system roughly? Okay, your establishment capital for the company was 200,000 crowns. 200,000 crowns. If something went wrong and the company bankrupted, the most you would pay was the 200,000 crowns because that was the establishment capital. That was the liability of the company. So you knew that whatever happened, you would not be in bigger problems than 200,000 crowns. With the trade license, obviously, if something happens, you are like, it's you. The trade license is you. So if you have like 1 million debts as a trade license holder, you will always need to pay the 1 million crowns. So this used to be a big reason for people not to go for the trade license, but get the S.R.O. company because they had the limited liability. But this no longer exists because the limited liability made sense when the minimum requirement for the capital was 200,000 crowns, which was like 8 years ago or something like that. Now you can establish a trade license, establish an S.R.O company even with 1 crown or 2 crowns if you're 2 co-owners. And then the limited liability is no longer there because you cannot have a liability for a company in the amount of 2 crowns. So in real life, it works now the way that if you're a director of the company or owner of the company, anyway, the liability will be way higher than the establishing capital. So this kind of advantage of S.R.O is no longer available. So from this perspective, it doesn't really matter. So in theory or in general, the point would go to S.R.O because there was the limited liability, but now I'm not really sure. So probably 1-1. Okay. The next topic, the ownership. That's important because sometimes people want to have like if you're freelance, if you get a trade license, the trade license will be in your name. So the business is yours. It's only related to your name and you cannot share it with anyone. You can, like tax-wise, or you can have a person responsible for your business if you're not meeting some requirements, for example, for running a restaurant. So you can have people kind of involved in the trade license, but you are the one responsible for the business. And if you die, the business dies as well. And you cannot like hire a general manager for like your own trade license. You will always be the only person responsible for the business. In case of the S.R.O company, in case of the limited liability company, you can have more directors, you can have more shareholders. So you can basically split the business into 2. So we are, for example, in Move to Prague, we're 2 co-owners, me and Daria. So we have the same rights, and we share the profit, and we would share also the loss if there was some. So you can, the business, if you are more people and you want to run business together, then the S.R.O company is definitely better, or actually the only option, because in S.R.O company you can have multiple directors and you can have multiple shareholders, multiple owners. So, and they can have different amount of shares, so they can have different portions of the company assigned to their name. So if you want to run a business which you want to share with some people, then S.R.O is definitely the way to go, and not the trade license. Because in case of the trade license, you are the only person responsible for the business. So all the like upsides and downsides will be just on you and not on the company. So I actually don't know where to put the point, but maybe to the S.R.O company, because it's more flexible. You can either be 1 shareholder and 1 director, or you can have more. With the trade license, you can always be only 1. So probably point goes to S.R.O. Then operations. That's important, especially for people from non-EU countries, because the trade license has one big disadvantage. And that is that the trade license is only active if you have a valid visa or residence permit in the Czech Republic. So let's say if you're an Indian and you don't have a valid visa or residence permit in the Czech Republic and you get a trade license, the trade license will not be active. It will be inactive until you get a visa. In case of the trade license is activated, the S.R.O company is activated right away. So actually, even if you don't have any type of visa or residence permit, the company can start its operation and it can start earning money, and you can actually like start earning money and like get profits and all this, and you don't need to have a visa. So in many cases, in S.R.O companies, the directors, for example, or shareholders are not even in the country, and they are not planning to get any type of visa. They just invested in the company, and now they're getting the dividends or whatever, but they don't even need to have a residence permit or visa in the Czech Republic. In case of the trade license, obviously you cannot have dividends from that. You cannot invest in someone's trade license. And also the trade license can only be activated and you can physically start running business only in case you have a valid visa or valid residence permit. Obviously, this does not apply to EU citizens because they don't need any visa or residence permit to live in the Czech Republic, so they can start the business right away, even with the trade license. But especially for non-EU citizens, if you want to start business right away, then the S.R.O is the only way, because trade license requires a valid visa or a valid residence permit. So point for S.R.O. And now closing the business. I can say right away that the point goes to trade license, because if you want to establish the trade license, takes 3 to 5 business days. If you want to close it, it takes like 3 to 5 business days. And that's it. Of course, you need to report to the Social Security, all this, but it's a very simple thing to do. And you just like close the trade license, or you can even pause it for some amount of time. If you know that you will not be running the business for the next 3 months because you are traveling or something, then you can pause the trade license for 3 months. And then once you come back, you can restart it and start paying the Social Security and healthcare again, and like activate the trade license. In case of S.R.O, once you establish it, it's very difficult to cancel it. So if you get a S.R.O and then you decide to move, it's usually how people do it is that you just keep it active, because it's way easier if you keep it active than if you try to close it. Like closing an S.R.O is a kind of complicated process and it takes time. You just need to keep in mind that if the company is officially active, then you still need to do your yearly tax returns. Even if your income is zero, you still need to submit those tax returns and like upload them to the online registry and everything. So from the closing perspective, or like the viability of what to do with the company, trade license definitely gets the point, and it's easier to close it, pause it, to do whatever you want with that. So those were the main like differences or main topics, and like which work differently in case of trade license and the limited liability company. And now some kind of conclusion. So what is better for me? I will talk about 2 topics related to that, like business wise and visa wise, and then hopefully you will get the idea. So business wise, trade license is really meant for freelancers. So if you're starting your own business, if you don't plan on employing like tens of employees right away, if you don't want to share the business with anyone at this point, if you just want to start your own business, you'll see how it goes. Maybe you grow, maybe you're not. Then the trade license is definitely the easier way. On the other hand, if you have like a serious business idea, or if you have some partners you want to start a business with, or you want to have someone to invest in your business, then the S.R.O is definitely the better option. Also, if you want to, of course, depending on the business, but now also this is not such a big difference now, because the limited liability company can have an establishing capital of 1 crown. So now it's not that important. But in the past, the S.R.O was kind of, especially if you wanted to deal with the government, for example, and get some business from the government, having the S.R.O would be like better, because it looks better. You know, you've established a company. You're not just a freelancer who can die or leave or whatever, and the business will no longer be there. You're a company, you're an entity, and that will be there even if the director dies, because someone will replace them. So the S.R.O company used to be somehow like more trustworthy, but that's kind of long gone, I would say, because now the establishing capital can be 1 crown. So basically there is no like trustworthiness in that. You know, you need more money to establish the trade license. So this is not that important. So if you just want to freelance on your own, or maybe hire 1 employee or something, that's an important thing, that you can do basically the same things with the trade license and the limited liability company. If you have a trade license, you can hire employees, you can rent an office, you can be a VAT payer. It doesn't have you don't need to have an S.R.O company for these things. You can do the same thing. Just the limited liability company involves more, like you need to be more careful. You need to really hire an accountant right away. So it's usually worth it only in case you plan on starting like a real business, big business, and not just freelancing and maybe hiring 1 or 2 employees. Okay, yeah, sorry, I have a dog here. He always like sleeps the whole day, and then when I start a live stream, he starts like running around and do crazy things. Yeah, so that's it. And visa wise, definitely, or like I had a call with an American today. He runs a business. He's been running a business through the S.R.O company in the Czech Republic for the last 16 years. And now he's trying to come back here because he was back and forth and he had a manager to take care of the business. But now he wants to move here permanently and he wants to do it through the trade license. So we had actually a discussion about this, if it's better to do it through the trade license, through the S.R.O company, or to set up a trade license and apply for a freelancing visa. Generally, it's easier to get the visa approved as a freelancer, especially if the nature of your work is freelancing. If you're an English teacher, or if you're a massage therapist, or if you're a, I don't know, whatever else, a software developer, then getting the trade license is an easy way to start and kind of easy way to get the visa, because you're a freelancer, so you don't need to prove that many things. For example, if you're an English teacher, you basically just need to prove like 2-3 letters from either schools or private people saying that they will be using your services as an English teacher, and that's usually fine for the visa, and that's usually enough. If you have a S.R.O company, you send a signal to the government that you want to run some more serious business. So they will also take this application, the visa application, more seriously. So they will be more checking your business plan. They will be checking if you already have some contracts here, and like if you have offices, and if you have some pre-contracts arranged, and they will be asking you plenty of questions about the business. So you need to be ready for that. And if you're just a freelancer, definitely getting the trade license is easier than getting the S.R.O and like getting into all that shit. But if you're a business person and you really want to start a business here, like set up a restaurant or set up a shop, and you want to hire people or build a factory, then definitely S.R.O makes more sense, because you need to be ready. Then if you apply for your visa based on a based on an S.R.O company, that you will need to prove more documents. You will need to have a solid business plan, and the government will be checking everything carefully. So you need to be ready for that. And it probably makes no sense to get ready for that if you just want to freelance, and just get a trade license and make it easy for yourself. But if you're a big company, or if you plan on running a big business, then you anyway will have a business plan, and you anyway will probably have some contracts before you start the business, because otherwise makes no sense. You will probably have some office, or you will have a store, so you will already have the documents which the government will be asking for, and you don't need to fake it and and make it more complicated for yourself. So that's about that. So yeah, there is no winner in general. One thing to say, setting up the trade license way easier, way cheaper, way faster, but it has some limitations, especially in activation of the trade license and in the number of shareholders or like directors or people who can be involved in the business. On the other hand, the S.R.O company is more complicated, more expensive, and it takes longer to set up. You're also double taxed in most cases, and you will definitely be spending more money on accountants and all this, and running the business on daily basis or monthly basis. On the other hand, you can have some investors, you can have more shareholders, you can have more directors. And if you're planning on running more serious business, then it's definitely the way to go. Okay, that's it. That was the main kind of presentation, let's say. And let's go to the questions you have now. So I can see that there are many questions on Facebook. Facebook is here. YouTube is there. Facebook, there is one from Kingsley. So Kingsley, just give me a second. I will first reply the ones on YouTube, because there are more of them. So Catharsis Jakesters, can you put studio salon by only using trade license? What do you mean by studio salon? Like hairdresser, or like cosmetics, nails, and all this? Yes, you can do that. Because actually the thing is that if you want to, there are two types of businesses, let's say, in the Czech Republic. There are businesses which are unqualified and businesses which are qualified. For unqualified businesses, you don't need to prove any qualification, obviously. So if you want to, for example, I don't know, sell something, not food, but sell clothes or sell TVs or whatever, you don't need any qualifications for that. So anyone can do that. On the other hand, if you, for example, want to do cosmetics or something where you can hurt people. So also restaurants, because if you cook badly, it can hurt people. If you do tattoos, that can hurt people if you don't clean the needles properly. If you do cosmetics, you can hurt people. So in those cases, you need to have the qualified trade license, and then you either need to have the qualification or experience or both, or you need to find a person who will be, and I'm stuck on you. I'm back on Facebook. Okay, so either you will need to have the experience or the education or both, or you can find a person who will be responsible for the business and who has the qualification and experience or experience. And actually, this part of establishing the business is the same for the trade license and for S.R.O companies. So even if you establish an S.R.O company, the director still needs to meet these requirements, that he either needs to or they need to have the qualification or experience and experience. So there is no difference between the trade license and the S.R.O company. So for S.R.O company, it's not easier to set up a business like a salon, for example. So definitely, if you're just yourself, the trade license for a salon of any type would be easier. Okay? Hopefully that was good enough answer. Basiru Isa, I will get to you as well. There are just so many questions on YouTube. So I'll first go through them because I completely didn't see them. So Hamks Venecek, how to have ICHO number. ICHO number is basically your business number. So you will get ICHO number assigned either if you establish a trade license or if you establish the S.R.O company. So in either of those cases, you will get an ICH number or ICHO number. So if you want to have an ICHO number, you want to establish a business either as an S.R.O or as the trade license holder. Sahir Imran, United Arab Emirates license can be changed in Czech Republic, sir. Please reply. Well, those are not driver's license. Okay. That's a different question. I did another live stream, another video about exchanging driver's license for a Czech one, but I don't think that the United Arab Emirates license can be easily exchanged into the Czech one. But the best thing you can do is to take the driver's license to the authority, show it to them, and they will tell you either that you can exchange it easily, or that you will need to go through the driver's school, because it depends on what it looks like, what information it includes. If it includes the same information as the EU driver's licenses, you can exchange it. If it doesn't, you can't. And that can be different for the same country, even for different editions of the driver's license. So the easiest thing to do is to go to the authority, show it to them, and they will tell you if you can exchange it or if you need to go through the driver's school. What about driving license? Yeah, I believe I've just replied to that. Rovena Casino, actually, these videos are helpful, but I'm actually waiting for the dog to say hi. Oh yeah, true. Thank you very much. The last time I did the live stream, because I do live streams every Monday and Thursday, so I almost showed you the dog, but he always wants to interact. But when I try to take him and actually make him say something to the camera, he usually backs up. So sorry, today he already left somewhere as well. So no dog today, Rovena, but come next time, and maybe the next time we'll be there. Okay, so now back to Facebook and questions on Facebook. Let's see what was here. So Kingsley Bauben. First, is freelancing same as trade license? You can say so. Freelancing can be done in a couple different ways, but the most common way to start freelancing in the Czech Republic is through the trade license. So basically, yes, you can say that freelancing and trade license is the same thing. But for example, actors or generally artistic professions like actors or singers or artists, drawing something, those can run the business, or those can freelance even without having the trade license. Those are so-called free trades that they don't need to have the trade license to do the job, but they anyway need to get registered for paying taxes, paying social security, paying healthcare. So it's kind of easier just to get the trade license anyway. But in most cases, if you want to freelance in the Czech Republic, you need to have the trade license. So you can kind of put the equal sign there. Okay, so Basiru Issa, how long it takes to get freelance visa and what's the requirement? I did another video just about that. We also have plenty of articles on our movetoprague.com website about the Živno visa or business visa or freelancing visa. If you go to movetoprague.com and just search the articles, just search for Živno visa, and that will show you couple articles. To just go through that if you want to know the requirements, because that would be another long live stream, or just go to my previous live streams or like previous videos on YouTube, or even here on Facebook in my group, and you will find all the information there. Generally, we say that it takes like 1 to 2 months to prepare all the documents needed for any type of visa, basically. Then once you submit your application for the business visa, the ministry has 90 to 120 days to make the decision. And there is still something that needs to happen afterwards. So generally, you should count with at least 3 to 6 months, but that can vary. You know, if you're an American teaching English, you come in a low season, you can have everything done in 2 months. If you're an Indian, you might never get an appointment at the Czech embassy, because there is a quota of 12 people who can apply for the business visa yearly. So you can actually never get an appointment and never get the visa. So it can be like forever. So generally 3 to 6 months, but it can vary. It can be less or it can be more. Kingsley Bauban, thank you. Also, if I'm employed and have a trade license, I already pay for social and health insurance via my employed work. If I don't earn revenue on the trade license for 3 months, for example, is it advisable to pause the trade license during the 3 months, or B, still let it be activated while I pay for health and social via my employed job? Yeah, that's a good question. We get it pretty often as well, that if you have a full-time job, if you're an employee of some company, you have deducted all the social security, healthcare, and income tax from your salary. Because there is something called a gross salary. There used to be a super gross salary. Now it's only gross salary and net salary. Net salary is what goes to your bank account every month. So let's say 20,000 crowns. Gross salary is including your social security and healthcare. And then there is still something extra which your employer needs to pay for you to the government. So if your net salary is 20,000 crowns, your gross salary is approximately, say, 26. So in your contract would be 26 as your gross salary, but you would be actually getting 20 every month. But the total cost for your employer would not be 20, would not be 26, but would be maybe 35, because there are some additional fees they need to pay. So there are those 3 levels. But in either case, if you have employment, then all the social security and healthcare is deducted from your salary. So if you get a trade license, that will always be considered a side activity. So you don't have to pay the monthly fees for the trade license, because they are already being deducted from your salary. But at the end of the year, or before the end of March for the previous year, you need to do your taxes. And based on how much money you earned under the trade license and how much you paid through your job, then you will either need to pay something extra or not, or in some case you can even get something back. So if you still keep your main job and you have a trade license as your side activity, you don't have to pause the trade license, because basically it makes no difference, because as if the trade license is a side activity to your employment, you don't need to pay the monthly fees. So there is no reason for you to actually cancel it or pause it. If you only have the trade license, if the business is your main activity and you know that you will not be working for 3 months, then it makes sense to pause it, because you will not have to pay the social security and healthcare on monthly basis. So you will save yourself like 15,000 crowns for the 3 months. But if you're employed, it doesn't really matter, because the social and health will be anyway always deducted from your salary. So hopefully this was a good answer for your question. And let's go back to YouTube. If I already have trade license and place approved by hygiene, is it enough to run massage salon right away, or do I still need to apply permit to operate? Well, honestly, this is something I don't know at this point, because if you have a trade license and if you have a place approved by hygiene, then you should be good to go. But I'm not sure, because, for example, if you want to open a restaurant, okay, the first thing you need to do is to get the trade license. That's easy, and that's the small thing to do actually. But then you need to get the restaurant approved first, like the kitchen, that it meets all the hygienic requirements and that you will not be killing people by cooking in a garbage kitchen. But you also need to get the whole space for like the whole restaurant approved for operation by firemen. They need to check that you have all the fire exits and that you have the signs where the fire exits are, and that there is, if it starts burning, that it will not be burned down within 2 seconds, but that it's somehow like protected. You also need to have a certain amount of toilets for depending on how many customers you want to accommodate in the restaurant. So there are more things that need to be approved, but those are different for every kind of business. For some businesses, you don't need any approval at all, but for some businesses, you might need to get some additional approvals. Like if you wanted to raise organic food, then you would also need approvals from the committee which like approves the organic part of that. So unfortunately, I don't know from top of my head if hygiene and trade license is enough for running your own massage therapy salon. We could find out, but definitely having the trade license and getting the space approved by hygienic services is definitely a good start. One thing maybe also what I would mention is that you should check, because if you, for example, if you rent an apartment and you go check the land register, you can go online and you will see who is the owner of the apartment, and you will see if the flat or the apartment is actually an apartment. Because sometimes it can be something called atelier, which means that it doesn't meet some hygienic requirements, like the amount of light coming to the apartment or stuff like that. So it's actually not officially considered an apartment, and you should not officially live there. And the same applies to business spaces, because some business spaces can be in the land register listed as, for example, shops. But if it's listed as a shop, you cannot run a restaurant in that because it was approved for a shop but not for a restaurant. So you would need to change this actually even in the land register. So that would be maybe one more thing to check, if the place itself is approved for running something like a massage studio. Okay. One more question from Kingsley. Sorry. These are very helping. Thank you. I'm curious, what is the full tax calendar year duration in CZE? Please, is it March 1st to February 30 every year? No, the year is from the 1st of January till the last of December. So that's the calendar year. So 1st January, last December. But you do your taxes from the 1st of January till the last day of March for the previous year. So between 1st January 2022 and the 31st of March 2022, you need to submit your tax return for 2021. So basically, this is how it is. So from the year is standard from January to December, but you do tax return until the end of March for the previous year. Does it make sense? Okay. Hopefully this was useful, because in the beginning it looked like no one would be joining, but then I had like 10 people watching at the same time on Facebook, which is very good. I consider it very good. So thank you very much, guys. On YouTube, I had many questions and I have many people watching as well. So thank you for that too. And I hope this was useful. Obviously, the recordings of these will be on my YouTube. So if you're not on my YouTube, go there, find me as Jan Kalina, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos. The same on YouTube. You probably are watching me from the Expats in CZE Help and Support group. So thank you for being part of that. Also, guys, if you want to support me, you can become my patrons in Patreon and like support me on monthly basis, pay some small monthly fee and show me your support. And in return, you will get special features, because for patrons, for example, I will be doing this coming Saturday. I will be doing question and answers only for patrons. So you can have like one-on-one consultation with me, basically, for free for 60 minutes. And I will answer any questions you might have about whatever topic you're interested in. Obviously, the best is to have some questions about immigration or housing or health insurance or businesses, all this. But if you want to ask me some personal questions and stuff like that, that will be possible as well. So I'll be running this for my patrons only. So if you want to join my Patreon, please do that now. I'll share the links in the comments of the video. And yeah, I will be happy to see you on Saturday and answer all your questions for free. And of course, guys, you know that I do these live streams every Monday and every Thursday. So I will see you again on Monday. Thank you very much for joining, as always. I appreciate you, and see you next time. Bye-bye. Bobby.